Okay, so I wanted to do one more video today, a topic that has come up a lot for me lately, that I've seen being talked about on Facebook a lot, and it's sexualization online. So maybe what I say might be quite controversial to some people, and that's fine. Like, I'm okay with sharing those kind of topics. It's just my opinion and the way I see things at this present moment. So, go away and have your own thoughts on it, of course. So at the moment, there's a lot of I feel like what women are doing is that hypersexualizing themselves in order to get validation, because their self-worth, it's like this cycle is going on where women don't feel validated by guys, and they don't feel like they're being made to feel beautiful and womanly by guys. And there's a lot of blame, of this guy acts like this and all guys are like this, and guys expect us to look like this, and then they're not happy when we do, and then they call us like sluts, and there's all this going on. And then on the other hand, but then I feel like women are fighting so hard to say, look at me, I can do whatever I want, I can wear whatever I want, and no one should judge me for that. And I think it all comes down to the intention. It's really hard for me to formulate this argument, but I will get clearer with this as I go through. But basically how I feel the cycle is going is that women are starting to, they're wanting to step into their divine power. And we've been so repressed, the feminine energy, for such a long time that, the feminine energy just wants to step into its power and be empowered right now. But I feel a lot of women are doing it in not the wrong way. I never want to say anything's wrong, but they're doing it in a way where they're still losing their power, because they're trying to get kind of validation. They're trying to be found attractive. They're trying to get, likes on social media, or show that they're sexy, or do their hair or do their makeup, or say, hey, look at me, like, I can wear a bra on Instagram, or show my nipples on Instagram, and that makes me, really pro-feminist, and that makes me really radical. And I think, unfortunately, all that stuff really just plays into the old role of keeping the feminine weak, because it's saying that the feminine energy is all about sexualization. And by saying you're strong and pushing your sort of sexualized image, or your need to be beautiful or adored for your beauty, is actually really just playing into the thing that is your only strength as a woman. And I feel that the feminine energy and the feminine real power comes when you don't need to do that anymore, because you validate yourself, and you don't need to find this validation from outside of all these likes or comments, or men to find you attractive or beautiful. And it sort of, when you're in it, you don't notice that. And I was really in that myself as well, maybe not to the extreme level some people were doing, but I used to model. I used to share my modelling pictures, and not that there's anything wrong with sharing your work pictures, but it's the energy. Like, I might not have admitted it at the time. I used to think I was really radical because, I could do what I wanted, and I could show my pictures where I was like maybe scantily dressed, and it was cool because I was really showing that women can just do whatever they want, and where I'm coming from. But deep down I was insecure, and deep down I didn't feel attractive enough, and I felt this need to really have people validate my beauty, or validate that I was attractive, because I couldn't find it within myself. And I feel like there's a lot of self-worth issues that come up with this real need to get so much attention on social media sites, and to get likes, and to get comments. And then when guys then comment in a sexual way, or it doesn't go as planned, then people like to then blame the guys and say, oh, they just comment sexually. And I just feel this whole cycle of stuff needs to be looked at to get through it. And a lot of guys are drawn to this energy, because I've noticed a lot of guys now who are on a path of awakening have started to look at those kind of posts and actually be really turned off by it and not even want to look. It's like there's so much saturation now of sexual imagery online that men themselves are actually starting to, whereas before I think I've even seen guys that before would have loved to see it all, and they're now really bored of it and they don't want to see it anymore, and they want deeper, they want to see more. And I really truly believe that this is because the masculine energy has a big problem with intimacy. I mean, we all do. Basically, we all have a big problem with being vulnerable and intimate, truly intimate with a partner. And this fear of vulnerability manifests often in chasing a fantasy. Now, I've done this myself. I used to have big fear of being vulnerable and allowing myself to be hurt and rejected. And then what you do is subconsciously you chase a fantasy. And in my case, my fantasy was people that were unavailable or fully unavailable. In a lot of, well, not in a lot, but in other people's case, this is about indulging in fantasy sex, sex parties, porn, scrolling down and chasing after women that are not really available on social media, and all these kind of things. And so really it's all a big melting pot of a lot of people that have self-worth issues and really want validation, and then a lot of people that are afraid of intimacy, so want to find a fantasy, and it goes round in this big melting pot. And I really feel like everybody deep down wants an intimate relationship and, you know, wants to be with their twin flame or their divine partner, and they want to experience that and explore that deep interconnected feeling. But the blocks on the way to that are to, you know, embracing yourself and loving yourself and being able to have that relationship. And because it's such a hard thing to be able to do, and it can break you to the core if you're not strong enough, a lot of people flitter around the edges of chasing the fantasy because it's safe, and they never have to put themselves in the situation of being vulnerable and being in that really deep divine partnership. Obviously this isn't conscious. People don't go out there. I definitely didn't go out there and say, oh, you know, I actually would have spent my whole life saying I really want to be in a committed relationship. But when I got really honest with myself about why I was attracting the people that I was and why I was happy to remain in those connections, I realized that I actually had a big fear of being rejected, big fear of being, you know, open and vulnerable, to be able to have like an intimate committed union. And I'm having to clear and heal that stuff within me, and I can feel a real shift lately. But I see this gone a lot, and it's no judgment. Like, I don't care what people wear or what people share online, but from somebody that has, maybe not to the extent that I see nowadays, but I have done some of that stuff, and now I look back and it's only in hindsight that I was doing it to feed my need for validation, because I didn't feel worthy and I didn't feel like I could validate myself or that I was attractive enough. And I needed to hear it, or I needed to get that attention externally, really. And realizing that is a huge step forwards, because you start to see your behavior differently, and you start to see why you're doing things differently. But rather than just sort of throw all men in this melting pot of all men are this, and, you know, I hate all men and all men are only interested in this, like, you know, I prefer to look at the you know, take ownership for my part in that. And I really think it's almost like the feminine energy leads in a sense, and then the masculine energy steps up to that. It's like the feminine energy says, you know, actually I'm going to step into my own power, and I'm going to understand that my power isn't sexuality. My power is, you know, loving myself, validating myself, and then going out into the world. And then the man, you know, kind of steps up to, the male energy kind of steps up to that. And eventually we become androgynous energy anyway, internally. But I feel that very much that's the divine feminine energy. The power is self-validation. It's not, oh, look at my kind of naked body online. come and like it, you know? And it's almost hard to notice at the time that because at the time you really think you're in your power. You really think that you're trailblazing, like this cool, independent, I can do what I want and wear what I want, and no one should brand me and no one should tell me that I'm this. But really it is just feeding into that whole cycle of and chain of events. And I really believe that the true feminine power is to step away from all of that stuff and just find your own inner validation. Know that you don't need that stuff to make yourself attractive. Sure, it gets attraction, it gets attention, it gets hits, it gets likes, but it doesn't really make you find true love or intimacy or, you know, a beautiful divine partnership. That comes from finding all your own self-worth and your validation within, and then being able to share that with another person. And it is a journey. And I wanted to make a video on that. And obviously, if people disagree, that's fine, but I'm going to share my perspective on that. So I really feel these are the core issues that really need to be healed, is that real fear of vulnerability and fear of intimacy. And I just had the weirdest thing with my ears then. I don't know if anyone else has had that. They just literally went strange and started ringing. And I feel that on the other side of the coin is the sort of the need to feel wanted and the need to feel validated and the need to feel beautiful. And I think that because these two dynamics are going on, it's making both people feel really unfulfilled and just keeping the cycle going. Because the more women just play in with this game, the more men are going to respond in the old ways of being, and then the more women are going to hate on the guys for doing that, and then the guys will just feel hated on, and it's just going to keep going round and round. And then when the woman just really says, you know, no, I'm going to validate myself internally, I don't need to look from it. And then, you know, it's a lot of it's to do with energy and being really real with yourself of why you're doing stuff. I'm not saying that you can't then even do some of the old things that you were doing, but it's like the energy is different because it's not searching anymore. It's not trying to prove something. It's literally just being, this is who I am and I'm cool with that, and I don't need to do all this stuff, and I don't need to you know, it's the same with wearing makeup. Like, I don't need to wear makeup to be attractive to my divine connection, because they will find me beautiful. Like, it's my soul resonance that's attracting them and my self-love that's attracting them. But then, of course, if you want to go out and wear makeup, that's cool, you know, and experiment. It's very much about the energy and where it's coming from and being really real with that. And like I said, I'm the first person to own up that I totally engaged in, you know, wanting to be validated by social and using social media as a tool for that, and getting caught up in the whole attention equals love scenario. Anyway, that's my last video for tonight. So yeah, I'd love to know your views and speak to you soon.